and too uncaring. If you're concerned about human beings, if you're concerned about human life on this planet, it takes a lot more nurturing because you did not come like other creatures. Other creatures have come fully equipped. See, if a tiger is born, see, this tiger was confused for 13 minutes only because he's zoo-born, he's not seen anything, but see, in 13 minutes, he recovered.
His instinct came back.
I'm saying he's recovered. He became a tiger. He did what he has to do. He did not just grope at him, he broke the man's neck.
Yes.
Because that is the instinct. That is the fundamental quality of a tiger when it hunts, it just goes for the neck and breaks the neck. He just did that. Because a tiger is born as a full-fledged tiger. A human being is not born as a full-fledged human being because what is human cannot be defined or described or put in a box. The important thing we need to know is, for all other creatures, nature has put two lines. Within that, they can live. Maybe a wild tiger would be much more, it would know the first moment what to do. A zoo-born tiger takes 13 minutes. But when it comes to a human being, nature has put only the bottom line, there's no top line. So when you come without a top line, life should be an exploration, not a fixed idea as to what should happen. The 2-year-old child, they're asking, will you become doctor, engineer, software engineer, what will you become? This idea of what will you become should never come. Just nurturing the child to his full physical growth, psychological growth, energy growth. He need not become anything, he just has to become a human being. And what is needed, he will do. Right now, whole humanity is in a state of compulsive state of action. No, unless it becomes a conscious state of action, it will become a conscious state of action only when, if you sit here, you're joyful by your own nature. Right now, humanity is in pursuit of happiness. For them to be happy, they're ripping the whole world apart and happiness is not happening. We're just threatening the planet out of which we have come. We are just a piece of this planet. Either we get it now or one day you will get it from the maggots. But we are just a piece of this planet. Now there's a whole talk about protecting the planet because we are in pursuit of happiness and that's not happened. For 1,000 years, if we are in pursuit, still we are not any closer. Last 150 years, using science and technology, we've pursued our happiness more intensely than ever before and we've not gotten there. So at least it's time to stop and look, it's not working. It's not working because what needs to be fixed here, you're trying to fix it there.
I will… since I'm quoting many of our past conversations, I'll quote one more. I think at one of similar events, Sadhguru was to speak at the session next to mine. So as I got off the stage, I found a very calm-looking, very young and very attractive young lady sitting next to him.
I thought you were talking about me.
And Sadhguru introduced her to me with her name, and I said, I said, you have a very cool guru. And she said to me, sir, I have a very cool father. And we just exchanged…
I thought I was hot, you think I'm cool?
Your daughter says you are cool. I mean, we are not asking other ladies, only ask your daughter. So we just exchanged notes on her because she just got married. And Sadhguru, I want you to share with this audience. This is a very competitive, globalized, cutthroat, take no prisoners audience, right? They fight in the marketplace. I don't mean all that as negatives, you know. I think your shareholders are happy that you do that. How do you explain to them how you brought up your daughter? Because this is an exchange we just had 10 minutes back.
I thought this was not the area of conversation that we were supposed to do.
I told you all our conversations go in surprising areas.
I had enough on my hands, so I never intended or thought we should have a child of our own. But my wife said at least one. I said, okay, one, only one. So that happened and from the age of… when she was an infant, 3.5 months of age, I drove across South India with her strapped to my front seat of the car, me driving alone, just my one hand here, one hand on the steering wheel. This was the time we were building Isha Foundation, so I traveled extensively and she was traveling with me when she was 3.5 months old infant. So first 4 years she grew up in the car with me and in many people's homes. So she met thousands of people and she learned how to become a part of any home, anywhere, whether it's the most affluent home in the world or, a tribal home where just about anywhere I stayed, I made sure that she was exposed to everything. I didn't want her to develop prejudices or privileges of, choices of where to be and where not to be. And by the time she was 3 years of age, she at least knew 1,000 people by name, whom she considered her friends, definitely not her age, all grown-up people. So the tremendous exposure to people, and I thought I won't send her to school because I never liked to go to school when I was young. So I thought, why should I put her through something? Then the only thing I could not provide her is children of her own age. So I put her to a school which is not so competitive, not so pushy. So I looked for a school which was started by J. Krishnamurti, and I put her there so that it's easy. And I said, further you go easy on my girl, because I'm not going to look at her report card. I'm not going to ask which rank you are. I'm not going to ask what are you going to become. So don't have to bother about her marks, her academics. If she plays, if she eats well, I'm happy, she's growing up, she must eat well. If she plays well, if she laughs, if she sings, if she dances, I'm fine. I'm not concerned about this because when I was in school, every test, I was very consistent. I always got 6 zeros because I never wrote a word on any page. If they insisted, I wrote my name, otherwise I wouldn't write. When the final exam came, I only worked for 35 and I always got 35, 36, I just calculated. I've never sat in an examination hall beyond 30 minutes. First bell, I'm always out. And I just calculated for what it takes to move on with my friends to the next class, and that's all I did. Why I'm saying this is, this whole thing I used to watch as a child. When the report card came every month, some children are crying in the classroom because they've got not the marks that their tiger parents want, and some are strutting around because they are first or second or whatever. Whenever the teacher gave me the card, this report thing, I just took it and gave it to my father. I never ever opened and saw, because I thought this is a transaction between the teacher and my father. I don't want to intrude and see what is going on there. So I particularly requested the principal of the school, don't worry about my girl's education. I just want her to be with children of her age group. She eats well, just make sure she eats well, that's my only concern. She eats well, she's playing, she's laughing, she's jumping and dancing, I'm fine with this. So when she became 15 and cleared her 10th standard, I took her out of formal education, and because it was her mother's dream and the girl also was very interested, I put her into dancing and she went into Bharatanatyam, and now she's one of the upcoming artists in the country. So I never treated her as a child, first thing. From the age of 2, from the time she started speaking, I always treated her as an equal, as an adult. I put whatever building a foundation, and as Preeta was referring, it's run by volunteers. Right now we are about 3,600 full-time volunteers, a little over 3 million part-time volunteers. Volunteers means we're doing variety of work. We're running businesses, we're running major projects and activity across the globe. None of them, except a few who teach, none of them are trained for their job, okay? Because I can't wait and pick somebody from IIT or IIM or something. Those who get rejected by all of you, probably they come to me. Whoever comes, I take them and put them into this job, that job, all kinds of jobs. So what can be done with one word? I have to speak 100 words to make them understand, for them to stay on the job, to remain committed, to keep it going. And because they're volunteers, you can't fire them. You can't fire them for inefficiency or this or that. So whatever problems in the organization, in the management, in individual people's problems, adult problems, all kinds, I always, once in a way, I gave her one of the problem and said, what is it? She used to come out with incredible, her own childlike solutions, sometimes perfect solutions, sometimes something wacky. So I always treated as an adult, never trying to place myself above her. This is the fundamental management I did, that she need not look up to anybody, nor look down to anybody, just look at level, at everything the way it is. Just learning to see life just the way it is. Looking up is a lie, looking down is a lie. Looking up is coming from a certain prejudice, looking down is coming from a certain prejudice. Being able to treat every life, everything, whatever it is, this is our culture, I want you to understand. It doesn't matter if a paper, just a sheet of paper, you write in newspapers, I'm sure today you see newspapers thrown all over. When we were growing up, one paper, you cannot step on it. Yes? Yes or no? Many of you have grown up like this in your homes. Just a printed paper, it's nothing, maybe the news is rubbish, but you're not supposed to step on it because you educate yourself through that. If you want to step on the earth, you bow down to it. You don't look up to something or look down to something. What you do to your God, you do to everything. This, not talking about in any cultural or religious way, simply I brought it forth in her life and I think it's worked out wonderfully well for her.
And does becoming a father-in-law make you more responsible, less responsible?
That's what I told her, I'm free. The day they got married, I said, I'm free. She said, no, you're not free. All these days you had only one struggling artist to take care of, now we're two struggling artists.
His daughter is a wonderful dancer and his son-in-law is a Carnatic musician, but not in the struggling one, he's a prodigy. So are there any questions or any points that anybody would like to make from the audience? Sir in the back.
Can I have the mic, please? Pranam Sadhguru, it's always a delight listening to you. What will be your advice to the corporate sitting here to balance results with happiness and contentment?
That's a good, pithy question.
See, the problem is, somewhere you think success and happiness are opposite to each other, are contradictory to each other. In many ways, in every way for that matter, success is the sweetest thing in anybody's life. Whether it's a small thing or a big thing, would you like to do it successfully or not? I'm asking you whether you hit a ball or you perform in your profession or whatever, would you like to do it successfully, the simplest things that you do? Is it not important for a human being? So, placing these two things as if these two things are contradictory or opposing to each other is a very wrong thing. First of all, you think if something happens in the world, you will be happy. Let's settle this first of all. Human experience, whatever it is, whether it's joy or misery or ecstasy or agony or whatever, every human experience comes from within you. Is that so? Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Every human experience comes from within you. What happens in the world will never happen 100% your way, it doesn't matter how good a manager you are It will happen to some extent your way. It'll never happen your way 100%, and I'm glad it is so, because if everything happened your way, where do I go? Where does everybody else go? I'm glad world is not happening your way. A little your way, a little my way, a little somebody else's way, it's good. But what happens within you must happen your way, isn't it? Yes or no? What happens within you, what happens from within you must happen your way. What happens in the world will not happen your way. If you are strong, if you are capable, if you're very competent, certain amount of the world will happen your way, rest will not happen. If you're incompetent, very little will happen. If you're competent, little more will happen. But that's all. For nobody 100% will happen. But 100% of what happens within me can happen the way I want it. If you have taken charge of the mechanism, this human mechanism is a complex mechanism and the most sophisticated gadget on the planet. Do you agree with me? Of all the machines, of all the… you may be looking, I know many of you may be already on iPhone 6. This is far more sophisticated and competent than the iPhone. You're missing the eye in looking at the iPhone. It's fine to use the gadgets, but this is the gadget. Every gadget has come out of this, isn't it? But have you taken charge of it? Do you know where the power button is? Do you know where the keypad is? No, just by accident. If you function by accident, you're a potential tragedy, isn't it? Whether you become one or not, you're potential. When you're a potential tragedy, life will be tense. How else will it be?
You're waiting to become inevitably a tragedy, so that becomes a source of stress.
But stress means it is not a state of the world around you, it is not a situation in your life or in your work, it simply means you do not know how to manage your body, your mind, your chemistry, your emotions, your energy, you do not know how to manage this gadget. I'm asking, at least have you looked at the user's manual? No, just by accident you want to do it? You know, the cell phone companies in India about 3 years ago did a survey and they said 97% of the cell phone users are using only 7% of the cell phone's capability. They are not talking about the smartphones that all of you are carrying, they're talking about the dumb phones, the regular phone. Only 7% of its capability, 97% are using. Suppose they took away 90% of the software, anyway you will not know. 3% if they complain, we can handle 3% complaints you can handle in your corporate, isn't it? So, if that is the ratio for the cell phone, for this gadget, what do you think? You never looked at it, you never paid attention to this, you're always thinking you're busy with the world around you. If you want to live well here, if you want your experience of life to be wonderful, when you said happiness, what you're saying is, you want your experience of life to be pleasant. Let's not give too many names, stress, misery, joy, happiness, ecstasy, they're all just words. Essentially pleasantness or unpleasantness of experience. If you want your experience of life to be pleasant, it will not happen because you fix the outside. If your body and mind took instructions from you, would you be joyful or miserable, I'm asking? You're stressed, you're unhappy not because of the stock market, not because of your work situation, your own body and your own mind not taking instructions from you, they're doing their own thing. If your mind took instructions from you, right now you would keep yourself pleasant. And if you want to be successful, there is substantial medical and scientific evidence today that your body and your brain works at its best only when there is pleasantness within you, there's no question about it anymore. So if you are stressed and you think you're successful, one thing is you will function not at your optimal level, way below that. Another thing is you're sending out a message to the world, particularly to the next generation, that success is suffering. It's a very wrong message. If people start looking not for success, but because once they don't seek success, they will seek lethargy. This has happened in serious ways to some societies. It will happen to us if all the corporates go around with grim, stressed faces, your children will look at you and think, what is the point being like this? This happened to America in a big way in 60s.
Right.
They looked at their parents, what is the point living like this, freaking around all the time, thinking I'm successful just because I'm in a suit and a noose around my neck that I can't take off, doesn't matter what's the weather. This is not their idea of success, so children decided, it's better to sit on the street corner and smoke pot. At least we are happy. Yes, at least we are happy, we are feeling pleasant. I don't see any pleasantness in the faces of successful people. This is a responsibility that you hold. If you want this society to succeed, if you want this nation to succeed, your children should aspire to be successful. Maybe not the same idea of success that you have, in their own way, they must seek success. If they do not seek success, they will seek lethargy, unknowingly they will seek death. How many of my friends, when I was growing up, died very young simply because they don't know what to do. Most of the drug overdoses that happened is not by accident, it was by intent. They do not know what to do with life tomorrow. Because once you are not seeking success in every little thing that you're doing, you will not know why you're alive. So this is an important responsibility that you have. You have to send the message out to the world, success is a beautiful thing, success is a wonderful thing, success is not suffering.
Sadhguru, one privilege I don't usually get in my life is a full hall of audience where nobody is moving or nobody is shuffling and there are no cell phones ringing. So, being a good Indian, I should not let go of this opportunity and I should let you carry on for the rest of the day. But I believe we have a minister waiting. So all I'd say to all of you is thank you very much. You've been a wonderful audience.
One last…
No, we have to go now. Wonderful audience, and I think just listen to him, and I can tell you what happens if you listen to him. Look at his forehead. There's not a single line, and look at mine. And I don't have a millionth of the things that he has to do. You have to go to his ashram and his center and see the stuff he has done and see what he's done by way of tree plantations, how he's used technology to make sure that every tree grows well. Please go and check him out. And you can argue with him. The reason I like Sadhguru so much is that he's somebody you can argue with. And I can tell him, I don't think you know something about this. And he will tell you, and he'll be, at some point, be quite happy to tell me, I think you know this better than me. And for me, that's a realized master. Because I think to be a realized master, you have to conquer ego first of all, isn't it, sir?
No, it's not about ego. Realization means you have realized that ignorance is borderless. Right. Knowledge is very limited thing. Knowledge is a very limited thing.
So this is a realized master I'm quite happy to be sitting next to on a 10-hour flight. Thank you very much, Sadhguru, I'm blessed.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and I would request Ms. Preeta Reddy, President AIMA, to please do the honors of giving a small token of our appreciation to Sadhguruji and Mr. Shekhar Gupta. Thank you very much, Sadhguruji. We are all blessed to have you here. Thank you very much. To Mr. Shekhar Gupta, thank you, sir, for being here this afternoon. Sadhguruji has crafted a 4-day business leadership intensive called Insights, the DNA of Success. The next one is scheduled from 27th November to 30th November and will have Sadhguru himself, besides Dr. Ramcharan, Ratan Tata, and over 20 business leaders. The invitations are available at the counter outside. You may like to avail this opportunity. To conduct the session. Before Ms. Sehgal, before you do that, we have to just, before you conduct the session, just 2 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sudhir Jalan, who's our past president AIMA and also has been the convention chairman this year, we would like to thank him for his dynamic leadership in organizing the NMC and making it possible to put up high quality convention. Thank you, sir, for providing a valuable insight on rewriting the India story. May I invite Mr. Sachin Pilot to present a small token of our appreciation to Mr. Sudhir Jalan on behalf of All India Management Association. I would also like to thank KPMG, our knowledge partners, for their considerable inputs, for giving us an excellent MCI report. I once again request Mr. Pilot to please do the honors of presenting a small token of our appreciation to Mr. Richard Reiki. Thank you so much, Mr. Pilot. And now I hand over to Priya Sehgal. Thank you.
I'll welcome you again, Sachin, now that the mic is on. So at a time when Prime Minister Narendra Modi is busy marketing India globally as a land where red carpets will soon replace red tape, there is a lot of curiosity over corporate governance ethos. For along with he piloted the Company Affairs Bill last year, and to an extent this has helped update our system, our corporate governance norms, by making companies more accountable and also giving more teeth to Serious Fraud Investigation Office to prevent scams like the chit fund scam. He also introduced the concept of class action suit, which gives hope to those victimized in cases like the Satyam scam or the Bhopal gas tragedy. But I'm now going to let him speak about all that he has achieved. For like a good politician, I'm sure that's part of the speech in front of him. So Sachin, over to you. In fact, theme of today is reinventing the India story. So I'm going to give the mic to a man who's played his role in modernizing the rules of corporate governance. Sachin Pilot.
Use that mic. Thank you very much, Priya. A very good afternoon to everyone present here. Friends, I want to thank AIMA for inviting me here to share my thoughts. And when I got the suggestion to speak here on a topic, I was very happy to be talking about corporate governance. And there are a few reasons for this. As our economy has expanded over the last decade and a half to become one of the fastest growing in the world, the role of the private sector has become even more important. To grow further and to acquire an international footprint, it has become crucial for Indian companies to adopt global best practices. The importance of corporate governance comes at a time when we need it the most. This observation comes from other important developments in the economy. An important one has been of the professionalization of the Indian family-owned firms. Globally, most companies are publicly owned corporations, but in India, the predominant corporate remains firmly with the family. Competition, more ambition amongst young people in the family who have often acquired managerial education, and the desire to develop new markets and products has driven the induction of management professionals and closer alignment with the best business practices. As the private sector grows, it becomes custodian of a greater share of our national wealth. The potential of adverse social and ecological consequences of growth also increase. In line with this, regulators, shareholders, and communities in which businesses operate, from which they draw talent and resources, have started holding businesses to a higher standard of accountability and transparency. The communities that support business have also started looking at social contributions of these companies. These mutually reinforcing stands have placed corporates in a constant spotlight. Being a Minister for Corporate Affairs gave me a ringside view of the action and gave me an opportunity to steer the new companies legislation through Parliament. In the process leading up to the passage of the Act and the subsequent formation of the rules and regulations, I had the benefit of the views of various stakeholders and how best to reconcile them to produce a harmonious and evolving regulatory framework. Friends, the New Companies Act, which is now in place, has in fact replaced an act that was about 58 years old. And before that, the Companies Act was actually made in 1914. So a good 100 years ago was when the first Companies Act was made. In 1956, there was an act that replaced the old act, and almost 6 decades later, we have in India now the New Companies Act, which got support from across parties, both in the lower house and the upper house. I don't think